first, Dems dox, ICE forges on. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Congressman Salud Carbajal, a radical open borders activist, should be sitting in jail tonight. Not even a week after another ambush of federal immigration officials in Texas, he decides to up the ante and to dox an ICE officer. So during the enforcement operation at a California wheat farm, Carbajal showed up all indignant, demanding access. Then he spoke to an ICE public affairs specialist who politely gave the congressman his business card. The congressman then proceeded to show the card with his name on it to the mob. And what happened next? The agent had to go to the ER for stitches after being hit by a rock thrown by the rioters. Now, of course, Carbajal is trying to play innocent, and he's blaming ICE, of course. He posted on X yesterday, quote, ICE's claims of doxing and violent mobs are familiar deflection tactics designed to distort public perception and evade accountability for their aggressive actions in our community. Now, this is typical Democrat playing the victim nonsense. The Department of Justice must seriously investigate this. Now, it may not have been Carbajal's specific intention, but 18 U.S.C. Section 111 prohibits assaults on federal agents performing official duties with an enhanced penalty provision of up to 20 years in prison when an attack is carried out with a deadly weapon. Now, I don't know about you, but when you see someone chucking a big rock or a piece of concrete or a brick, that can absolutely be a deadly weapon. So people have to start going to jail for this and getting the maximum sentence. Plus, contrary to the sob stories that it's all hard-working farmers, bent over, working hard, sweat on the brow all day long, they're being rounded up. At that cannabis operation last week, among the 300 that were taken into custody, I'm glad it was 300, I wish it was more, some of the most despicable predators were among them, including Roman Izquierdo, who's an illegal from Mexico who'd been convicted of kidnapping, attempted rape, and attempted child molestation. He'd been deported back in 2006, came back into the country. Then there's Juan Duarte Velasquez, also an illegal from Mexico, who's been convicted of rape and also had a DUI. Then there's Jose Orellana, an illegal from El Salvador, who's been convicted of DUI and hit and run with property damage. And let's not forget Adriana Gonzalez, another illegal from Mexico, who has been convicted 3 times for burglary and a DUI. Oh, these are just innocent farmers. Yeah, instead of fighting for you, for the American people, Democrats in Congress are fighting for them. So until there are real consequences for what seems to be a conspiracy to impede, thwart, threaten, endanger federal officials carrying out immigration law, the far left will keep fanning the flames of violence. They've obviously given up on the American people, totally. They have no credible policies to make the lives better for the hardworking Americans who pay the bills, pay their salaries. So what do? All they can do is manufacture outrage and focus on helping illegals, many of them predators, and then, of course, in the process, vilifying ICE. The Immigration Performance Act, though, well, it's never ending.
The government can open its doors to elected officials. Just imagine how it's treating the people inside.
Not stand by while humans are being used, facilities must be investigated, not it.
The only conclusion watching people like Congressman Ruiz and Torres is that they fundamentally hate our country, and they will do anything to disrupt and defame our law enforcement. Unless, of course, the law is being used to attack conservatives, then they'll be all for that. Now, the same people who were fined, by the way, sending January 6 defendants into solitary confinement for months and months and months, apparently will not be happy unless illegals who are on their way out of the country, by the way, are given suites at the Ritz-Carlton. Alligator Alcatraz is their latest obsession.
The reality is, when they come for one of us, they're eventually going to come for all of us. We're seeing people being abducted and sent to dungeons in foreign countries. Some people disappearing with no accounting for where they have gone.
Now, it's okay when a Democrat president puts detainees in such temporary facilities, of course, we know the kids in cages, but not a Republican president with adults who are on their way out of the country. This is just more phony outrage.
We saw humans being held in cages.
The conditions that we saw inside this internment camp, which it is nothing less than that description, were really appalling. They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans.
Wall-to-wall humans. Here's a thought. Don't have your friends enter the country illegally, enriching the cartels to come here to do us harm, and they won't be temporarily housed there. And better yet, look, don't break our laws if you don't want to end up in alligator Alcatraz, period, if you're an illegal. It's too bad Eddie Lopez Jamat didn't get that message. He's an illegal from Cuba who was arrested for cutting an elderly woman's throat in Florida and then lighting her home on fire. That same night, he threatened another woman by, quote, cutting off her head. Now, I've been following the immigration debate, as many of you know, who've listened to me on radio and podcasting, so forth, for years. And I've told you, the answer here is always the same. Democrats do not believe, at least the Democrats of today, do not believe that Americans have a legitimate right to keep non-Americans out of the country, period. They don't believe our immigration laws are legitimate. They do not believe that those laws should be enforced, period. So you can't reason with them because they've become total fanatics. But you can beat them at the polls, just like we did last year, and just like we will do again if this nonsense continues. And that's the angle.
Donald Trump was in the VIP box this weekend for the biggest soccer final in the world. The championship match was in New Jersey yesterday, and 47 brought Melania for a day date. The Brits upset the French 3-0. And the president wasn't going to miss out on the celebration, so he showed up to the trophy lift like he owned the team. Trump liked the trophy so much that he took it home with him.
They said, could you hold this trophy for a little while? We put it in the Oval Office. And then I said, when are you going to pick up the trophy? He says, we're never going to pick it up. You can have it forever in the Oval Office. We're making a new one. And they actually made a new one. So that was quite exciting.
It's 24 karat gold. And you know, Trump loves his gold. Plus, it looks better in the Oval anyway. Trump lifted the gold on the anniversary of dodging death. Same day, same hour. Since then, he's been a man on a mission.
When history looks back on this time in our country, when history looks back on you, how would you like to be remembered?
A good person, but a person that saved our country. I really believed our country was going down for the fall. I don't know if it ever could have come back. It was very close to the edge.
The country was teetering because Biden let the whole third world pour in for 4 years. Trump stopped the flooding, and now he's sending them home. And the one thing that brought America to its knees is the one thing Democrats are still fighting for.
Put people over profit. They volunteer, get off it. Put people over profit. They volunteer, get off it. Put people over profit. NYPD KKK. NYPD KKK.
Instead of enjoying the gold, Democrats are fanning the flames and letting their assassination fetish get the best of them. A couple of ICE agents got doxed in Portland this weekend, and radicals showed up outside their doors and told them to go die.
I have become more radical. I have become more extreme. So my Megan Fox's speeches of saying, please think about the children, have slowly turned into kill yourself.
This is why they wear masks. Wingnuts tried raining on Homan's parade, too. But Tom didn't let him go without a spanking.
Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. Bring it. Bring it. They got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. Get out of here, you loser.
Homan has to live separately from his wife because of the threats he gets from guys like this.
This is what they brought us yesterday. That is what they met us with yesterday. That is what they shot at us with yesterday. Our incredible volunteers have been nonstop since 5 in the morning every day across this county, patrolling and surveying our spots and jamming up every ICE officer that we find.
Last week, ICE got shot at by Trantifa, and the media treated it like Hunter's laptop and didn't cover it. CNN and MSNBC didn't mention it once. Instead, the media is trying to unmask the victims.
Name a police agency has a 700% increase in assaults. Name one.
I haven't looked at that data, yeah.
You won't find one. The attacks on ICE is unprecedented, 700% increase. And we're not even talking about the doxing of agents, their spouses, and their children. So they're wearing masks to help give them some sort of protection. But the same people that are complaining about ICE wearing masks, have they ever said anything about BLM protesters wearing masks?
Well, Democrats are protecting the privacy of BLM, Kifa, Antifa, and MS-13, but not ICE. This weekend, Trump actually opened the big, beautiful doors to Alligator Alcatraz and let Congress come in for a quick little look-see. Debbie Diamond Hand Schultz was mad that Jose doesn't have a gold-plated bidet.
They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans, 32 detainees per cage. That is the only thing inside those cages are their bunk beds, and there are 3 tiny toilets. They essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth, where they poop in the same unit.
Everybody brushes their teeth where they poop, Debbie. It's called a bathroom. She's probably talking about these sink toilet units that every prison in America has. The migrant criminals are getting treated the same way as American criminals, and Debbie's angry that they're not being treated better. And how does Debbie think we should be detaining criminal aliens if we don't use cages? And are these even really cages? It's like any fence you see anywhere. She doesn't like the supermax in El Salvador. She doesn't want to keep them in jails and sanctuary cities, and Alligator Alcatraz isn't nice enough. It seems like defense attorney Debbie wants MS-13 to stay in Times Square hotels for eternity. This is just a temporary facility that these guys stay at for a few weeks before they get shipped home.
It is a center to process illegal aliens and then to provide a pad to deport them from the runway that's right there. We did not create the 4 seasons. That's not the intent of this. All the standards are a lot higher than what was even required, but that's, really beside the point.
If they're not serving margaritas at Alligator Alcatraz and every unit doesn't have marble vanities and Toto toilets, Democrats call it a dungeon.
The reality is, when they come for one of us, they're eventually going to come for all of us. And we've seen, the construction of Alcatraz, Alligator Alcatraz. We're seeing people being abducted and sent to dungeons in foreign countries.
Omar and Debbie never lamented the living conditions of government housing projects or living conditions in Appalachia or my dorm room, which was very small. They only complain about Alligator Alcatraz and Guantanamo Bay. They make sure the foreign terrorists are comfortable and they have everything they need. The Democrats complained so much during the war on terror, you remember? We were letting al-Qaeda play soccer and video games. These are some of the dudes at Alligator Alcatraz that Debbie and Omar don't want to fence around. One MS-13 gangbanger is nicknamed Satan. He's wanted for being in a murder ring. We have Biden migrants with convictions for sexual assault, robbery, arson. One guy in Alligator Alcatraz was arrested for slicing an elderly woman's throat. The media wants these guys sleeping in California Kings with silk sheets.
What do you say to these lawmakers who argue this is not humane treatment of individuals, of humans?
Well, our detention centers at the federal level are held to a higher standard than most local or state centers and even federal prisons. This is a state-run facility at Alligator Alcatraz,
but they have people stuffed into a jail
They have
cell?
a contrast. Well, I've been there and I've seen these rooms that they are in. I wouldn't call them jail cells. I would call them a facility where they are held and that are secure facilities.
Democrats have called them cages, though. They say
I wish they would have said that back
and...
during the Biden administration and back when Democrats were in the White House and they were piling people on top of each other on cement floors.
Bodies were getting stacked like sardines in Obama-Biden cages. Where was the media then? That looks like a cage to me. And they didn't even have beds. They were sleeping on the floor. And these were migrants who hadn't even committed a crime. Migrants were so desperate where Biden was holding them, they were suicidal and slitting their wrists. Democrats, they don't want them in cages. They just want them out there working in the fields. Over 300 illegals, some of them minors, got iced at a pot farm in California. The farm's been investigated for forced child labor and human trafficking. Democrats went from the party of workers' rights to let's let foreign kids pick our crops. We need to keep weed prices low. They want to keep families together so they can harvest cannabis together. Karen Bass says she can't even get her car washed in L.A.
They are literally driving down the street, jumping out of unmarked cars, tinted windows, no license plates, and literally snatching people from bus stops, going into car washes. It's difficult to get your car washed in LA now because many of the car washes have closed down.
Who's going to wax Karen's Corolla if Jose gets iced? We don't know. We didn't really believe car washes were vacant, so we called 5 LA car washes today, and they all picked up and told us to come right in. Since Karen can't tip Jose for vacuuming her trunk, she's sending him stimmy checks instead.
But we also are going to have a reinstitution of the Angelino card, something that Mayor Garcetti started during COVID that will actually provide cash assistance to people. Because, you know, you have people who don't want to leave their homes, who are not going to work, and they are in need of cash. It's a couple $100, I don't know the exact amount, and this should be available in about a week.
Bass wants to mail reparations to migrants. LA's still in debt from the riots and losing all that homeless money, billions. And whole neighborhoods are still burnt down. Are the illegals getting checks faster than Americans who've lost their homes? Seems like it. It's been 6 months, and they haven't even started rebuilding Malibu. The no-name California senator who lunged at Nome says he can't leave his house either, because if he goes to Home Depot, Homan's sending him to Alcatraz.
What if I was outside of Home Depot because I like to do some work around the house, not dressed in a suit? Would I be a target of ICE enforcement under Tom Homan? Probably. And it's just wrong. It's not just due process rights that have become the concern, but racial profiling.
Is Karen going to send senators stimmy checks if they're afraid to leave their homes too? Mark Cuban says Democrats could at least help Homan a little.
They should be putting Tom Homan on blast, saying, okay, the FBI has their top 10 most wanted list, right? List the top 1,000, criminals that are here that need to be deported. We'll all help you. But the Democrats would never say something to the effect, we'll help you. They only have to do something that's the antithesis of what Trump says and does. You've never heard a Democrat say in the past 7 months, yeah, okay, I don't like it, but this is a step in the right direction.
Democrats still haven't figured it out. Most of the country wants Alligator Alcatraz and mass deportations. The Times, ABC, CBS, all their polls say a majority of Americans back it. But if Democrats are going to keep trying to move them into five-star resorts, this country is going to put them in the dungeon, an electoral dungeon. We might let them play soccer, but they will not be taking home the gold.
Night with a tremendous amount of gratitude. A little more than a year ago, an assassin's bullet came within a millimeter of taking President Trump's life. Instead, that horrific day in Butler, Pennsylvania was the start of what was a historic year for Donald Trump and our country and, frankly, the world. Just take a moment, reflect on all that has happened. Trump eviscerated the left's lawfare, and that's only beginning, and we have an investigative report tonight. He got elected a president again, this time by a wide electoral margin, winning all swing states and the popular vote. And as president, his policies and actions have been a monumental success. Our border is now secure. Criminal illegals are being deported in record numbers. Inflation is finally under control. Our economy is beginning to boom. You see it at the pump. Gas prices are at 5-year lows. And the U.S. federal government, they just posted their first monthly surplus in over 20 years. And meanwhile, Congress passed the largest tax cuts in American history, and families and working men and women are the biggest beneficiaries. No tax on tips and overtime. It is now the law of the land. We are also on a path towards energy dominance, and a nuclear-armed Iran that has been dismantled. What a difference 1 year and 1 millimeter can make. And we are not officially at the 6-month mark of Donald Trump being president for now the second time. Unfortunately, we are still dealing with many of the threats that were left behind from the last administration. ICE is working around the clock to identify, locate, deport violent criminals. That includes murderers, rapists, other violent criminals, and known terrorists in our country, Iranian assassination squads in our country, cartel members, gang members, drug dealers, all in our country. On top of all of this, breaking tonight, extremists in Iran have reportedly raised a whopping $40 million as a reward for assassinating President Trump. This all because Joe and Kamala and Mayorkas, they all lied to us for 4 years. They said the border was closed, but they allowed millions and millions of unvetted illegal immigrants from over 200 countries, including countries with terror ties, into our country. The task ahead is monumental. The good news is a lot of progress is being made, but it's going to be hard. Thousands of criminal illegal aliens are now taken into ICE custody every week. There was a raid at a California marijuana farm that resulted in the arrest of more than 300 illegal immigrants. Among those detained were 10 exploited minors working at the marijuana farm. What do we call that? Oh, that's right, child abuse, alongside a notorious sex predator from Mexico. And now the left, they are up in arms. Not because of that. Not because Joe Biden allowed violent predators to cross into our country unvetted, and then lost track of literally hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied minors, but because ICE is now detaining criminals and rescuing these children, by the way. And as a big thank you, Democrats are attacking the people that are protecting the kids. And not just with words. Look at what's going on. According to the DHS, assaults on federal officials are up a whopping 700%. A lot of these agents are being set up. These agents get attacked now almost every single day. It is underreported. Let's look at this timeline. July 2nd, a man repeatedly ramming an ICE vehicle with his car in California. July 4th, a group of far-left extremists attacking an ICE detention facility in Texas. In that case, shooting a local law enforcement officer in the process. July 7th, a gunman opening fire at the entrance of the United States Border Patrol annex in Texas. July 8th, mass rioters assaulting ICE agents at a San Francisco courthouse. July 10th, scores of rioters attacking ICE agents at that marijuana farm in California. One even pulled a weapon and fired it in the direction of law enforcement. On July 11th, more violence against federal officials, this time in Portland, Oregon. And tonight, a California state professor is now facing federal charges after throwing a tear gas canister at law enforcement. And we could pretty much go on for the rest of the hour, on and on and on. Make no mistake, there is a huge violence problem on the left, but instead of supporting federal officials, instead of recognizing the Constitution, which, of course, gives the authority and jurisdiction to the feds in this particular case. It's called the Supremacy Clause. Democrats, they only add fuel to the fire. They are more interested in the so-called rights of illegals than they are in about the safety and security of Americans in small towns and big cities, and they have been vilifying ICE around every turn, and as a result, the threats of violence get larger and larger, on top of doxing ICE agents and their families. And instead of calling on cooler heads to prevail, the party of peace, even Obama is telling his fellow Democrats to, quote, toughen up, have some courage. Not that he had any. But none of this is going to stop the Trump administration from doing their job, protecting the country. These deportations will continue. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.